Awesome, good stuff. I've just requested to share my screen. Did you get that? Cool.
It should be on, so you should be able to share.
Okay. We are a Google Meet user in Deal, so I'm getting used to this. Can everyone see my screen? Just making sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. First of all, love to meet everyone here on this call. Yeah, just a quick intro from my side of things. So, of course, yeah, I'm Noah. So, I'm an account executive here at Deel. I predominantly deal within the SMB space. So, that's businesses up to 200 employees. These could be businesses that are HQ'd in the UK, have global operations, or looking to expand globally and attract that talent. So definitely a specialist in that sense. So yeah, obviously love to go through a bit about Deal itself, what we do, how we do it, how we help SMBs, businesses expand into new geographies and attract that talent, which is obviously very, very important. How Just making sure. Okay, awesome, good stuff. With regards to Deal itself, so Deal are definitely a market leader in this space. We have the biggest market share, only company making a profit in this space at the moment, and we've had profitability for the last 2 years. That's a huge, huge thing. We have over 25,000 customers. We look after small one-man bands to Nike, Uber, banks like Revolut. So definitely backed by the best in that sense. At a high level, we would call ourselves a global expansion platform. We are a fintech company. We are a SaaS company. We are a service company as well. Everything kind of rolled into one. Um, so last year, for example, we ran payroll for over 250,000 employees. We processed around $8 billion worth of payroll. So a lot of money movement that we're working on here. Um, and around 10 billion pay slips that we process to all our employees that we have around the world. So really, we help businesses expand, and our three main focus areas within within Deal are definitely compliance. So making sure that if you are, consolidating in the countries that you are already operating or looking to obviously expand into geographies, that it's done compliantly. And of course, making sure that the second point, that the money movement between any type of classification of worker is as smooth as possible. And definitely the last one, which really sets us apart from any provider in this space, is definitely the experience and support. And that's massively key, right? So navigating these new territories for SMBs, especially in the sector that I work in, is really, really right, quite quite complicated. So that additional support that Deal offer is massive. We are a 4,000 people company. We have legal, customer success, onboarding, all these different types of workers in all the countries around the world to be able to offer the solutions in over the 150 countries that we operate in. So that's massively key. And in terms of what we do, so probably this is the best slide to showcase where Deal started from and now what we currently do in terms of a mature platform where we've ended up. So we first came to market with this contractor management solution. So our two co-founders were finding themselves trying to attract talent and paid contractors compliantly. So they created the Deal platform around 5 years ago. We now obviously expanded into the market of EOR. So that was our second solution that we came to the market with. That's probably one of the reasons why we grow so big, obviously valued at such a high value these days. That EOR solution is really important to Deal in terms of the infrastructure that it needs to have around the world. So that means we have to have over 120 entities around the world, have that support behind the scenes and able to provide that solution. And on top of that, we've built now a platform that offers global payroll, US payroll. We have the immigration piece, which is really, really big. So if you're looking to attract talent, that these visa sponsorship, standalone visas, that's massive. So we have that play within Deal. And of course, fundamentally, everything's run through that one consolidated HR platform. So, if you guys are not currently using a HR platform, I really suggest you start to use Deal. The headline news for the HR side of things is that it's free. So it's not going to cost you anything to onboard your employees that if you have any within the UK, and start going ahead and start using Deal and utilizing that HR platform. Um, so that's a bit about Deal. Alongside that, we have obviously the HR consultancy services. We've expanded into over 150 different countries in the last 5 to 6 years. So we have a lot of expertise in Deal. So we now obviously sell that solution. So yeah, there's a lot of things that we do at a Deal. And ultimately, when attracting new talent and expanding to new markets, this is really kind of emphasizing that consolidation piece, that buzzword around consolidation of having four, five, six, seven different softwares in one platform that, whenever you're looking to hire certain talent, generally you start with that contractor to model, that EOR, so the employer of record model, allowing you to employ outside of your general remit. So if you take a UK business and you're looking to attract specific talent in Spain, for example, you'd use the employer of record solution. Once you solidified, we have the entity setup services, we have the consultancy services. And then once you've maintained that, of course, and grown within that relevant country outside of the UK, we have that global payroll piece, the US payroll PEO as well. So really think of Deel as your HR partner and being with you, every step of the way when expanding into new geographies and attracting that talent.
Great, thank you. I guess one question that comes up straight off the back of this for founders that are interested in expanding internationally is where do you start? Like, is there particular geographies where it's better to look for tech talent, for example, if that's what people are paying for? And then how do you start the process of filtering out all of the talent kind of around the world? It might be seen as a bit overwhelming to think like, oh, I could find talent anywhere in the world. And then you have to focus in on one particular geography. So you're not just like inundated with potential job ads. So is there anywhere that you recommend based on the data that Deel has to look for talent, like tech talent to start with?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So obviously, fundamentally, Deel operates in over 150 different countries. Generally, it's easier to operate the countries that we don't operate in. Typically, the clients that I work with will be looking for talent and expanding into Europe, of course, depending on the business that they have. Generally, the US is a massive target audience, depending on the maturity of that business as well. That doesn't mean, of course, they want to find some specific talent, and that talent means that hire is in Brazil, for example. Just making sure that, of course, they will be able to use Deel and utilize our platform to be able to hire that specific talent anywhere in the world. Of course, within the platform, we have some really, really nice features, salary insights, for example, benchmarking salary the tools as well to help, understand the salaries that they're offering the potential contractors or employees in the relevant countries to understand, what the salaries look like and what they should be as well. But it really does depend. I mean, I work with businesses that, of course, hire everywhere around the world. And I generally would say that depending on the business, that talent could be anywhere. So really, there isn't a kind of a firm answer to that, but making sure that at least if that talent lies in a certain country, at least Deel can help utilize and attract that talent compliantly.
And with the salary benchmarking information that you just were talking about, is that something that anybody can go online and look at before they figure out where to like focus their efforts in terms of geography? Like if you know that there's a massive hotspot of talent in India, for example, and then you see that the salaries are well benchmarked against other territories, can you do that before you then hire and like look at like finding talent in that location?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll share what we have as a global hiring guide, which is really helpful to understand, your costs as well in the certain countries and regions. Absolutely, within the platform, which, like I said, I can't stress this enough for the SMBs. It's completely free for you to use and utilize and sign up. So I would go ahead and do that straight away. And within obviously our platform, we have the salary insight, so you can take full advantage of the data that we have within the platform to help benchmark potential salaries in different geographies around the world. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then if you've decided that based on the salary insights that you want to focus your attention on one particular region, can you help um, find that right talent? Like, how do you write a job description that attracts a person in the country or countries that you're looking for? And then can you actually help source talent?
Yeah, so generally, Deel would get involved once the talent has been sourced. Being perfectly honest, of course, we work with a lot of recruitment partners. We leave the recruiting to the experts, making sure that you just understanding that Deel can facilitate the compliance of that relevant hire, right? When it comes to attracting the talent, I see the biggest benefit that Deel can offer is definitely the benefit side of things. So if we take the employer of record solution and take an example of maybe a UK business looking to employ a specific talent, a hire in Spain, as an example, where I'm based. Obviously, you have the mandatory benefits, the statutory benefits within Spain. That's all, managed by Deal. But maybe there's an additional benefit like private healthcare or life insurance. You want to offer that specific talent to help, to help them work for you as a business in each of the countries where, in addition, if it's not a mandatory requirement, like in the US where healthcare is, we have those healthcare providers, we have life insurance, we have these really nice additional benefits, which makes things really, really attractive to hire that talent. Alongside that, within the platform as well, when you go through adding someone to the platform, we use some really nice AI features to help write job descriptions depending on the job role. So there's lots of help within the platform alongside job descriptions specifically. Yeah.
Yeah. And alongside like the those kinds of things, do you have any other tips? Like you're talking about the benefits that you can offer to employees in different regions or countries. Is there anything that founders should be aware of in terms of like potential red flags in particular geographies or countries where it might be a little bit more difficult because of the regulatory environment to hire, and then other countries maybe where it's like actually a really useful environment for founders or small businesses to hire into?
Yeah, so I would say that every country has its complexities, but that's exactly what Deal is here to help sort, right? So when it comes to attracting the talent, going and finding that talent, if that lies within France, where their labor laws are incredibly complex, Deal is here to help you with those issues and challenges that you would have. So, that EOR solution is an absolute game changer as a product when you're looking to attract that talent outside of the UK, where you don't have that native infrastructure to employ these employees, where you don't have an entity, where you don't have an office in that region. That's where you'd utilize, Deal's native infrastructure. We take legal liability of that employer, we take employer liability. So that's really important as a product, and that product, means that we take care of the whole of the management of those employees. So yes, it's really scary for SMBs when I jump on a first time call with them to think that they have to go and hire someone in a relevant country where they have no idea about the local labor laws, the tax regulations, payroll, benefits, and why would they, right? But that's exactly why we're here to help manage that process and make things as easy as possible. That's why we have 4,000 people working behind the scenes. Ultimately, yes, your day-to-day interactions is always going to be through that one consolidated HR platform, but ultimately we are a service company providing all the solutions in the countries that we operate in, and we have all these people working behind the scenes to make sure that we offer that solution. So that support, going back to what I said at the start, is really pivotal for the SMBs, and think of Deel as that an extension of your HR team, like I said, in each of the regions and countries that you're looking to hire in, is really, really key.
Just out of interest, do you know from the clients that you have, obviously different countries might have different annual leave, for example. Do people tend to just have like a general policy that works for everyone? So they'll give everybody 30 days rather than have someone in one country who has their statutory and then someone in somewhere else that has their statutory? Or do you find that people have like a completely different set of benefits depending on where people are located?
Yeah, really good question. I would say that obviously it first of all depends on the type of worker, right? So if we're talking about if you're looking to hire contractors, so within the Deal platform, you get access to compliant contracts in accordance to those local labor laws, wherever those contractors may be. Um, so really utilize the Deal platform, like I said, going back to the compliance aspect and making sure that whenever you're engaging, a contractor, that is done compliantly. Ultimately, for the employer of record solution, when you're looking and engaging in employees, everything's done in accordance to those local labor laws. So I've just shared my screen and make sure that you can see that. So this is a global hiring guide, and I'll share this piece after the call. Um,
So you,
we,
we can't see anything if you did share it.
let me just again.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Awesome. So with regards to specific statutory time off, anything along those lines, if we take the US as an example, this is a really good guide to help when engaging into relevant talent within those countries. So I've clicked on the employee side of things. So we're looking specifically at employees in the US, right? So this will give you an indication of, you know, basic things that anyone should understand when hiring in the US. So tax, statutory time off, you know, the onboarding time frame that Deel works with to be able to employ within the US. Um, but most importantly, you know, costings, this is really important. So generally gets forgotten about by a lot of the clients that I speak to. You know, in the UK, you have, you know, a certain percentage on top of the salary that you offer the employee, which, you know, is a contribution to national insurance, as an example. In every country, that it massively varies. So in the US, you look at around 9 to 12%. In France, it's nearly 50. In Spain, it's around 30. So this global hiring guide will give you a really good indication of, you know, what are these costs for employees in different regions around the world. That may also lead you to go after certain talents in certain pockets around the world, right? So if you identify that in Eastern Europe, those liabilities, those estimated payroll costs are much lower than the UK, than Spain, than France, then, you know, does it make sense to go and find talent in there? Yes, it probably does, if the talent is correct. So this is a really useful guide to understand those costings for all the countries that we operate in.
Nice. Yeah, that's really useful. Thank you. Is there any other tips that you have for founders that are at this stage where they could almost hire kind of anywhere in the world? Obviously, people are going to take into account like time zones, and that kind of thing. But any other tips from clients that you've worked with that you think would be useful for this group to know?
So I would say from experience speaking to obviously clients in similar positions, that I'd say choose the right partner, right? So as mentioned, think of Deel as an extension of your HR team in the region that you're looking to hire that specific talent. So that support is really, really critical. We have experts in every country that, you know, that you guys would potentially be looking to operate in. So yeah, I speak to countless clients that, you know, have maybe used quite an old legacy type of software. They come to Deel because ultimately, you know, we have 4, 5, 6, 7 different types of software within one platform. So really, you know, these startups that are experiencing, you know, large growth, it's generally the wasted time and effort that they have trying to swap solutions ultimately to Deel where we have everything in one platform. So yeah, really choose the right partner, which is really, really key. Find a partner that can do it all is really the main thing that I would suggest to save time, effort, and make sure you guys can grow as quickly as possible.
Okay, and just out of interest, do you have any trends on like how many teams are operating remote first versus hybrid?
So in total, we have, well, over 25,000 clients. These clients will have remote workers all around the world. So yeah, I mean, we work with obviously a large percentage of our clients are tech companies, obviously because they can work remotely. But then we have different pockets within different sectors around the world. But yeah, I mean, 25,000 is our client list at the moment, and they all have you know, remote workers using the Deel platform.
Question from the chat from John. Do you know about protecting the IP of a startup within different countries? So is it written into employment contracts about non-disclosure agreements or that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So this comes up a lot. So we have specific IP clauses within the contract. I'm happy to obviously take any additional questions offline when it comes to specific solutions. But you know, if we take the employee record solution where we're talking about employment and employing employees outside of, you know, of the UK as an example, ultimately it is a three-way relationship between, you know, day-to-day working relationship between you and the employee, between you and us, and of course between the employee and Deel as well, because we take employee liability. So that constant management, first of all, is really key when it comes to support, but also from a compliance aspect, IP is really, really important. So we have specific clauses that takes IP off the individual, gives it back to the client that we're working with.
There's another question that's just come in from Marcus Green. R&D rules changed in April this year, so subcontractors must be UK based. Are your clients using R&D for full-time employees, or are they now outside of UK R&D credits? Marcus, do you want to can you take yourself off mute and just explain that question a little bit?
Yeah, so basically, I'm assuming that most of the people in this group are getting R&D credits in one form or another, and they changed the rules in April so that to try and make sure that all the R&D is spent in the UK. So subcontractors are specifically stated as having to be in the UK, and I'm just wondering if Noah has come across this with his clients, onshoring people rather than offshoring them, or whether there's some sort of exemption that they found for full-time employees or other types of contractors in some way.
Is the R&D just, I haven't heard of the R&D, is that a subsidy for startups within the UK?
Yeah,
Just
it's
so
like
I
a tax,
understand
yeah,
the
it's a
context
tax
of that. Fine.
benefit. Yeah.
Tax benefit, fine. I mean, ultimately, yeah, we are an expansion platform. So Deel is obviously helping business expand outside of generally where you have that infrastructure, i.e. the UK. But we have, for example, within the platform, the ability to, hire within the UK as well. So um, for the employer of record solution, it's not really a solution you would use if you have an entity in the UK, because the whole point of utilizing the employer of record solution is that you utilize Deal's infrastructure outside of the UK where you don't have that native infrastructure. So in that case, you'd use Deal potentially as a platform to, first of all, house your employees for, HR side of things. So making sure you have a HR platform for all your employees, a platform to run UK payroll as an example. So that's utilizing our global payroll solution, and then obviously the contractor management function as well. So not necessarily the EOR piece, but the other solutions that we have within Deel, if you're specifically talking about UK contractors or workers in this case.
Thank you. Is there any other questions for Noah? You can either raise your hand, yeah, or post it in the chat. Anchor.
Hey Noah, I want to understand the different ways companies can hire internationally. So we can hire an employee in a different location. We can hire a contractor. I think you mentioned these two. I do have an employee, or I have someone working with me, but they have a limited company in Cyprus, and so rather than me hiring them as an employee or a contractor, I'm actually we have an arrangement from a company to a company, and I pay an invoice, and I don't really follow any, I don't have any other requirements. It seems like the most simple way for me to hire with this individual. I just want to understand, what options do you cover? Is it employee contractors, and do you have any views on that individual being under their limited company, and is that an easier option, or are there any pros and cons?
Yeah, so really good question. So this is a typical setup for a lot of the companies that I work with. Of course, they're engaging with contractors. The contractors that they are engaged with could either be, a contractor themselves, or they have their own LTD, which sounds like the case in your situation. So in that instance, you utilizing the contractor management function would give you, access to compliant Cypriot contracts as an example to make sure that, every contract that you have with that relevant individual or company in Cyprus is, compliant with the local regulations there. The contractor management function gives you the ability to manage multiple contractors within the platform, the ease of paying them, and also the experience for the contractor as well. But with regards to the type of worker, that's really important. So, of course, when engaging into multiple countries, you have high misclassification risks. Misclassification is obviously when a worker is incorrectly identified. So if you're engaging with, contractors when they should be labeled as an employee, that's really, really important. And I'm happy to share, some misclassification quizzes that's really, really helpful for some businesses to identify whether the classification of worker should be an employee or should be or a contractor in this case. But in terms of your setup, it's up to you ultimately if you want to engage this current worker currently at the same situation as a contractor, so continue with what you're doing, helping, let's say the utilizing Deel to help manage that function. Or ultimately, if you're working with this contractor long term, you could then move them to the employee-based solution. So therefore, they are classified as an employee if you're working with them long term. And that's something that we would advise, of course, the longer you work with contractors, the more the murky territory you get with misclassification risks within Europe. But yeah, this is something that we, day in, day out, kind of working situation with a lot of businesses that we work with.
Okay, understood. You mentioned Deel helps with paying salaries as well. What is your offering? I mean, right now, for example, for this particular staff, I will pay their company's account, using an FX solution. What is Deel's offering in terms of salary pay, international payments?
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing that let's say every month that the company raises an invoice, you then just simply pay the invoice in the currency that you've agreed to pay in, which is a pretty standard setup. So one of the benefits of using the Deel platform is, of course, multi-currency payments. The contractor in this case, the company in this case, can withdraw in 124 different currencies, crypto included. We automate the invoice process. That's part of the contractor management function. So, for you as a client, you just get the invoice sitting in the platform because we've automated that process. So you just simply approve or deny the invoice. So of course, with one contractor, it's relatively easy to manage. But if you're talking 5, 6, 20, 25, which, is a minimum with some of these dev companies that are dealing with, that contract management piece is really, really key.
Awesome. Noah, I'm aware that you have to shoot off momentarily. I've just put a link in the chat which takes you through to Deel's site with a partner page. So Deel are one of our partners at Hotbed. So if you want to find out more, you can visit the page there. There's also a discount code for founders. But Noah, you mentioned that just to sign up to the HR platform is free, right?
Yeah, go and utilize that. There's nothing hidden about that. Just go and utilize that. I can't stress that enough. It's a game changer. A lot of HR clients, it will save you going to have to pay for Charlie HR, Hi Bob, or any other HR systems out there, and it's really, really good. So go and utilize that as much as possible.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming and spending some time with us. We will let you go to the founders here. Stick on because we're going to do some live pitch feedback. I'm just going to stop the recording first. Thanks, Noah.
Take care, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.